like a good pull to wake you up in the morning. All right, you guys, welcome back to the channel. I appreciate anybody who is watching. Yeah, so currently right now it is 8:41 in the morning. So today I kind of just wanted to go a little bit over like I guess my motorcycle journey. So how I got started, like out of all the hobbies that one could be doing, you know, like why motorcycles? So I started off riding dirt bikes. So my first experience on a motorcycle was in the desert. So I was about 11 years old, right? So my dad, you know, he started making a little bit more money. You know, he was doing really well in his job. Started hanging out around some, you know, different crowds and stuff. So I guess he just got the idea. He was just like, hey guys, so why don't we start riding motorcycles, like riding dirt bikes, right? So I was about 11. My other brothers, they were still about, I want to say like 6 and 4, somewhere around there. So we all kind of just got started a little bit younger. I mean, I was a little bit of an older kid. But yeah, so my very first bike was an XR 100. So that's a Honda. It was definitely a cool, fun bike to begin with. I got a lot of, I guess I got a lot out of that bike. You know, like I was able to learn how to ride. You know, obviously like learn the very basics of riding a motorcycle. I guess the most fun story that I have regarding, I guess one of the most fond memories that I have of that bike. So I remember it was probably like my second time riding the bike, right? So we had made the trip out to the desert, so we're all doing our thing, and so, you know, like I'm riding around and I kind of fell. I kind of just like got back on the bike. I started it, you know, because like dirt bikes are kickstarts, well, at least the older ones. So I started my bike up again, and I ride back to the campsite, right? And so I told my dad, I was like, you know what, like I'm good riding my bike for today, right? So I remember just like my dad was just kind of like, why? Like you haven't even like learned how to shift yet? Because at that point, like I was only riding in first gear. I wasn't necessarily shifting or anything crazy like that. Like I was literally just taking off, braking, and just staying in first gear. I guess I was scared. I was scared that I was gonna like flip the bike or do something crazy. But if you know anything about an XR 100, I mean, like that bike is so harmless. Like it's a good starter bike, but it's not even something that like you could probably even wheelie, if that even makes sense. But I was always so scared of falling and getting hurt, or oh, what the heck? I was always falling or scared of falling and getting hurt, and you know, or flipping the bike. So once I fell, I was kind of like, all right, like I'm kind of done for this trip for the day. So I come home. So I go back to the campsite, and my dad just kind of like, he's like, wait, so you're not gonna ride anymore for this weekend? I was like, no, I'm kind of good for now. He was like, why did I even buy you this bike? You know, I shouldn't have even bought you this bike. And that really hurt me, like as a, you know, like as a little kid, you know, obviously like that kind of like disappoints you, because you're just like, damn, like my own dad is kind of like disappointed in me. But after kind of like getting over it, and like I was a little bit kind of like, you know, disappointed, you know, I remember just kind of getting like mad, getting angry. I was kind of like, what the f-? Like my dad doesn't think, like my dad thinks I'm scared, like he thinks that I can't do this, like I'm gonna show him. So I've always just been that kind of like quote unquote a competitive person. You know, like when someone says I can't do something, it automatically like it triggers me. It makes me just want to be like, all right, you know what, like I'm gonna prove to you that I can do what you don't think I could do, right? So that automatically just like lit a fire under my ass. So the next trip that we did, I started shifting, I started going up mountains, and I feel like that was really like the pushing point that I needed to be able to, I want to say, to really take my skills to another level and like actually like start, riding for real, So so after the XR100, I learned the basics like clutching, braking, shifting, going up mountains and stuff. So from there, I want to say so a year, maybe 2 years later, so when I was like 13, I was ready for another bike. So my dad got me a CR85. It was a CR85. So it was another Honda. So that was, sorry, because I hit this little downhill. Woo! Let's go! Okay. So after the CR85, so that was my first two-stroke bike, and I loved that bike. That bike was so cool because it was just high revving, it made a lot of noise, and that bike had so much more, so much better suspension, right? So I was able to kind of like go in like the bump section so much smoother. Like it really taught me like if I ever made it onto a track, I was like, this is what it would feel like. So that bike was just so cool for me, man. I mean, like, I learned how to go on a whip section. I got my first track experience on that bike, so I learned a lot from that bike. So I want to say I had that bike from when I was about 13. Pretty significant. I guess the best story that I have for that bike. So we were. My family and I, so I was still in middle school, right? We're going off of hills and like we see like jumps and stuff like that. So my dad hits this jump, and so I immediately follow after him, right? So as I was going into the jump, right? So I remember just kind of going like midair. I see this big ass rock, like a boulder, right? So my front tire hits it. And I flip fucking forward. I flipped forward, right? And like I remember, that was probably the quote-unquote worst injury that I had because I fell forward, and I remember just landing on my left wrist. I remember like I had a really bad sprained wrist for. It was really. I don't remember how long the recovery was. But I do remember like the recovery, I don't think it was that bad to the point where like I had to go to the hospital, but I did have to like bandage it, so I had to go to school with like a wrap and stuff. My friends were kind of clowning me. They're just kind of like, you fell, little kid shit. But and even then I don't think it's that bad because I mean technically like I didn't even break anything, so wasn't even that bad. That was probably like the most memorable fall that I think I've ever had in my life. Just because I actually like got hurt on that one. But just like anything, you get back up and you keep going. Yeah. So after the CR85, I was about maybe 15 or 16 years old. So now I'm in high school. So I'm finally ready for an even bigger bike. So I ended up getting an RMZ 250. So this was my first Suzuki. So that bike really helped season me. So it was another bigger bike, 4-stroke, even better suspension. So I became a very well seasoned rider when I got that bike because I was able to just progress even more. Like I was able to get even better lap times on a bigger bike, right? So that bike really helped shape me into the motorcycle rider that I am today, right? So so that bike I kept from when I was like 16 years old till literally like a few years ago. So when I was riding with my family, so we're all out in the desert, we're going and stuff, and then for some weird reason, the bike just kind of shut off, right? And I was kind of like, what the heck's going on? Like it just shut off. Like I had gas, so it was kind of weird. So like, and for some reason I would try to crank the starter, right? So I was trying to kick it, bam, and it wasn't going through. So like I couldn't follow through with the kick. Like it felt like it was stuck. So long story short, we took it to a mechanic, and so the bike, I guess like it had a loose part that kind of got like loose in the engine, and that little part just kind of like kept spinning and spinning until it just kind of broke the entire engine on the inside. So that bike just, you know, it ended up dying. RIP. RIP to the RMZ 250, you know. That bike was, I mean, that was like my favorite bike. I love that bike. I definitely had that one that was definitely the longest motorcycle that I had. I had it for about maybe 10 years, you know? Yeah, maybe like 10 years. So, I mean, it kind of makes sense because like, I got it like in, shoot, maybe like 2007 or something like that. So, or maybe even longer actually. I don't know. Well, anyways, but I had that bike for at least a decade, right? I kind of just focused on my career. I started going to, you know, I had gone back to school. I was finishing up school. So, and then I started working. I got a big boy job in the tech field. So I started making a little bit more money. Well, the most money that I'd ever made in my life, right? So I was like, you know what, like I can buy my own bike. And I was kind of like, I don't know if I want to go to the desert, because it's just like, I do enjoy the desert, but it's just like, you know, like you need a truck, you need somebody to, maybe you need somebody to go with because you got to take it off the truck. So there's a couple little things that I kind of just, you know, I wasn't really sure that I wanted to do, right? So then I started researching and thinking. I was kind of like, like, what if I just hit the street, right? I was kind of like, nah, like, the street's too dangerous. I don't know if I want to do all that. But, you know, I started kind of researching it, and so I started finding all these YouTube channels, all these reviews, and it kind of excited me. So one of the things that I kind of learned is, I feel like the majority of motorcycle like accidents and all that, a lot of that occurs due to the rider, you know, and I feel like it's more often than not it's the rider's fault. The reason why is because like single accidents, I would say like the majority of the reason why someone crashes is because of speed, right? So a lot of times maybe like you hit a corner a little bit too hard, so you lose control. You may maybe like you're going by through cars too fast, so things like that, you know, like that affects your safety, right? Speed, because like you don't give cars enough of a chance to see you, right? And you know, obviously, like we're already on like these little ass motorcycles, so like we're already hard to see. So what I'm trying to get at is like, I'm somebody that loves to be in control of my own situation. So I felt like I have the skill to protect myself. You know, I have the discipline to ride and have fun when I want to, but I also know that there's some things that I need to control, and the things that I can control is my speed, how I'm aware. Like I know that I'm talking, but I'm aware. I see these cars right here. I see everything going on, right? So that factor made me feel like, you know what, like it's up to me to protect my own safety, right? So I kind of just like that kind of like gave me confidence that I was like, I have like I mean, what, like 15, almost 20 years of experience riding a motorcycle. So I was like, you know what, like I'm gonna see what I can do. So in 2020, in 2022, I got my first street bike, which was a 2020 Yamaha MT-07. So that bike really helped get me onto the street, because like it kind of felt like I was on a dirt bike still, right? I had the handlebars, the upright position. Like, it really just felt like I was on a dirt bike still. And that's why, like, I mean, like, this is probably another story, but that's why, like, I love naked bikes. I like being upright. I feel comfortable. I feel more in control. Yes, the wind kind of plays a factor, but that's why you can have like some of these like little wind deflectors and stuff that'll help out with the bike. So that was pretty cool. I loved the MT-07. The best part about that bike is just like, it's just an engine. Well, at least the 2020 version. So it's just an engine, right? So like, there's no electronics. There's nothing but just like a fun wheelie monster of a bike. Like, it's just a fun engine. So that was such a cool bike for me to kind of get on the street with. You know, kind of get my feet wet onto the street. The transition really wasn't that bad or like anything crazy, because like I already know how to ride a motorcycle. The difference now is like, instead of riding like in the desert, like where there's like maybe like road hazards like bushes and like whoop sections, maybe like sand. Instead of, so a lot of that is not necessarily elements anymore. Now, obviously, like the hazards are more cars. So that was really the only transition that I needed to make, was just like how to ride and like how to stay in control when I'm around cars. So once I kind of got that down, I mean, like after a couple of rides, I was kind of like, oh, okay, like, this is kind of easy. It feels natural, right? And then kind of learning how to lane split properly. You know, we are in California, so lane splitting is legal. And the cool thing about California is like people are respectful, right? People are like, they're cool with you, you know, lane splitting and all that. They're not assholes like maybe like in like other states where they kind of like, where you get like a Karen that'll like block you off or something. You know, I've never ridden in another state before, but from like other content creators that I've seen, you know, like that's an issue. People just kind of like getting in your way when you're just trying to, when you're lane splitting, whether it's legal or not. As a rider, like you know that you have to keep moving. You can never stay in one spot, right? You can't stay in one spot, because like that's how cars will forget about you, and then that's how you can get hurt, right? Anyway, so I'm kind of going off topic. So I learned how to ride on the street. I definitely got a lot out of that bike. But I want to say, so I got that bike in 2022. So in 2024, I was kind of ready for a different bike. So I had done my research. I had looked up like different types of bikes. And I wanted something with a little bit more juice, a little bit more power. But I also wanted to, like the electronics, right? I needed something that had like, oops. Let me get over here for a little bit. So I wanted something that, that had like electronics, right? So I wanted like the traction control. I wanted modes. I wanted a quick shifter, right? And so I was kind of thinking, I was kind of like, you know what? Like, let me just stay into the MT family, right? And so I was like, you know what? Like, I'm just gonna stick with the MT-09, and I haven't looked back ever since. So this right here, it's my baby, 2023 Yamaha MT-09 SP. So we got the blue and the gray on the tank. This bike is, I mean, an absolute gem. It's fun. It's got just enough power to get you from point A to point B on the street. It's got all the electronics that you will need. Quick shifter up and down, IMU, really control, modes. Let's see, what else? Oh, and cruise control. that honestly, like, cruise control is so clutch. So yeah, so I kind of just went over all the bikes that I've had throughout the year. So that's kind of been my journey riding a motorcycle. I don't know, like, I'll honestly say, after I got this bike in January of 2024, it is now March 2026, and I honestly, like, I can't say that I'm like quite over this bike, you know? Like, I still go into the garage and I see this, I'm just like, damn, like, this is a dope bike. Like, it just looks cool, right? And then whenever I ride, I'm just like, damn, this is such a cool bike. Like, I still enjoy the bike. So, I don't know. Obviously, like, you know, you kind of flirt with, like, the possibility of, like, other bikes. Like, I have thought about maybe getting, like, a leader bike. I do like the S1000, the R1. But then I've also kind of thought about, like, maybe like a potential bike in the future, like to stay in the naked bike category. Maybe like a Super Duke, an MT10. But I kind of feel like if I get another bike, like, I kind of want to try something different. You know, like a different type of bike, or maybe even, you know what? Like, I've even looked at a couple like the what are they called? Like the modern retro classics. There we go. So I've seen some of like the Triumph bikes, and I'm just kind of like, damn, like, these are so cool. So I don't know what my future bike looks like. I feel like I'm just getting started. I love motorcycles. I've been riding motorcycles since I was a little kid, and this is just what I love to do, right? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh. Love it. So I kind of feel like this is what I like to do. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where life takes me. But I appreciate you guys for joining me for today. The fun little conversation. I don't know. Tell me what you guys think in the comments. Are there any bikes that you guys want to try, or any bikes that you guys recommend? What you guys' journey was like? Maybe whoever started off on dirt. Maybe there's some stuff that we can relate. But yeah, I appreciate you guys. Yeah. So until next time, ride safe, you guys.